just want to say a big hello and thank you so much for anyone who took some time this evening to come and chat with us about forms. My name is Krista. I am the camp director at High Trails, which is our female-centered camp. And I am on this Zoom because I love forms and I love just talking to parents. And so I attend any Zoom that they let me. I was trying to think of like a get to know us question. And I was thinking about filling out forms makes me think of homework. And I want to know from the rest of the camp team as we introduce ourselves, what kind of like homework turner inner were you? Were you like I have it in my nice neat folder and my name's always on the top? Or were you like my husband where like at the end of the 4th grade, they cleaned out his desk and there was an entire fossilized banana with all of the crumpled up homework? So I definitely was a do my homework in the class before I turned it in the next class person. And that was me in school.
I'll go next. I'm Jenny, and I am the registrar and travel coordinator. And I was very good at doing my homework, and I would always do it on time, ahead of time, had my name on it, would make it look nice and pretty. I would take notes in colorful pens and just make it look cute. And that's just kind of who I am. So I'll pass it off to Will.
Hey everybody, my name is Will. I'm the associate director at Big Spring. I did my homework. I swear I did my homework, but it was crumpled up at the bottom of the backpack. It was hard to find. So to weigh the scales, balance them out a little bit. Yeah, I was a mess, but always got it in.
Hi, Ariella Raggi. I'm the director of Sanborn Western Camps. And let's be honest, I was kind of a nerdy kid and I did a lot of things on time, but I did have this like light mantra that has maybe continued in certain ways throughout my adulthood. And it really comes down to this. If you put it off to the last minute, it only takes a minute. And so I was always one who got things in on time, but that didn't mean that I didn't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to write that paper because I just didn't feel like writing it the night before. So that's me. I'm also a cursive girl. That was one question we were also talking about was do print or cursive? I was Montessori raised, so I was a cursive kid.
Awesome. Thanks, Ariella. And so I have a feeling that a lot of the families who are on this call are get their homework in on time people. And so that is what we are here to help chat about the various forms. And just please know that we are here for any of your questions, either if you're here live on this Zoom tonight or in the future. Just reach out, email us, call us, and we're always happy to chat through any questions that you have. And so it's really great to stay muted if you aren't actively asking a question. And that's for like those barking dogs in the background. My dog is literally walking circles around this table right now. So I'll mute when I'm not talking as well. But do feel free if you're in a space where you can turn on your video. It's just really fun to see that we're talking to all of the fun friends and families, and we promise not to judge the state of your living room. Okay, and I am going to pass it on to Jenny to start our presentation.
All right, so we are going to be talking about forms today. And just to give you a brief overview, all of our forms are due on April 15th. And today we're going to cover Camp in Touch, as well as the Companion app for ways to turn in your forms, the types of forms and their status, medical forms, transportation forms, the liability release, camper profile, and finally, additional options.
Okay, and so there are 2 different places on the internet that you can fill out your forms. You can log into your Camp in Touch account from a computer, and that is how you apply to camp most likely. And you can log in and get to your form space there. And there is also this really nifty companion app. and you can see the photo of what it looks like in the app store. So the Companion app is really, really user-friendly, and it is super helpful for parents filling out forms because you can use your cell phone camera to snap a picture of a lot of these forms, and it automatically uploads them for you and puts them in the right place. So once you log in either login space, you can see that big fat arrow on the screen is pointing to the forms and documents tab, like portion, and that is where you can find all of the forms we're going to talk about today.
So for starters, just to know a little bit about the different types of forms we have. If you see the little computer symbol, that means it's a web-based form and all you have to do is type and fill in the information. If you see the little barcode icon next to it, that means that you need to print the form, sign it, and then re-upload it again. Or if you're using the Companion app, just snap a picture and it'll go where it needs to. You'll notice that some of the forms are bold and some of them are not bolded. If the form is bolded, that means that it is required for everyone. If it is not bold, you only need to fill it out if it actually applies to your camper. So for example, if your camper has an allergy where they need an EpiPen, or if they have asthma and use an inhaler, those are forms that are not required for every single camper. But if it applies to your camper, then you do need to fill it out. And then if the form, as you can see on this list, the ones towards the bottom are green, that means that the form has been accepted. If it is red, that means that it is incomplete. And if it's black, that means that it is unsubmitted. And you'll also notice as you turn forms in, they won't turn green automatically because we actually have to manually check every single form as they get turned in before they are accepted. Ariel, on to you for medical forms.
Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. We do have a lot of medical forms. When we have kids at camp for a month, we recognize the importance of health, safety, and overall well-being for our kids. And so we want to gather as much information as we can prior to their arrival so we can have conversations with families and or just allow our nursing staff to know what sort of situations, medications, whatever is coming in, so they can manage their time and navigate any of those and have those conversations with you all. So there are a few different health forms. One is a parent authorization to treat form. That is a required form, and that basically gives us consent from you in the off chance we aren't able to get a hold of you. Anytime a child is taken off site, or let's say there's a concern about maybe had a fall off a mountain bike and we're wondering if we should get an x-ray, we are always going to call families. We will also call emergency contacts as well, which is why those emergency contacts are also important to include in our information forms. And sometimes we can't get a hold of folks. And so the parent authorization to treat form is one that allows us to take kids to our nearest hospital, which is Pikes Peak. It's the University of Colorado. It's UC Health at Pikes Peak Regional Hospital in Woodland Park. And they have a great ER. We are very familiar with the doctors. We have great relationships with the hospital staff. And that form allows us, allows them to treat, without a parent in place. So that's an important one to sign. And if you have any questions, there are also some components on that around like potential additional tests or those kind of things. So please read through that one. We also have an over-the-counter medication authorization. That's actually included in the health history form at this point. And so you'll just click through and look at what we call our formulary. So the medications we have on premises. So those are the medications. We only hire RNs or nurse practitioners. We are overseen by Dr. Jeremy DeWall, who is our medical director and an EMS doc who actually has worked for UC Health in Woodland Park. And so they create this medical program for us. And Jeremy creates a medical program for us that our nurses follow. And that includes a formulary of over-the-counter medications that are evidence-based that help. So for the common simple things. So if you feel like, oh, my kiddo needs, if she gets a headache, she normally takes an Advil. Well, that's great because we actually have those on site. So you'll go through that list and check off the things that you will let your child utilize while they're at camp if necessary. Similarly, on that health history form, you're going to see all of the insurance information. So please make sure you fill that out thoroughly. When or if we were to go to an urgent care or the ER, we would present the health history form with your insurance information there, and then the hospital would go ahead and ideally with you in working in concert would look at in-network, out-of-network sort of opportunities there. There also on the health history is a physical health history, so please be thorough in responding to that. Also, there's the mesh components, the mental, emotional, social health. Those are really helpful for all of us. Everybody brings some more baggage than just their trunks and duffel bags to camp. So if your kiddo, is navigating any mental health challenges or is seeing a therapist or anything like that, please make sure you get that on that physical exam or that health history form as well. We also have a physical exam that needs to be filled out by a doc. So that one is, sorry, go back. Sorry, I didn't realize we were jumping ahead. Sorry about that. And then all medications that will be sent to camp. So all these things are on this health history exam. And so when you fill out that health history, just be as thorough as you possibly can. That helps our nursing staff, and that also auto-populates our database so all of our information is in a secure database, digital medical platform. So similar to what you would see at your own doctor's office, that is what we utilize at camp. Next, now we have those other exams. Sorry, I got excited. Couple required exams beyond the health history, physical examination, and certificate of immunization that's signed off by the physician. If you are sending medications to camp that are outside of our formulary, so maybe your child does take a daily allergy, prescribed allergy medication, then you would need to also submit a permission for medication administration form. One of these forms is required for every single medication that you submit. And in the state of Colorado, medications are not only prescription meds, they're also any over-the-counter. So let's say your child often will take a vitamin C gummy in the morning. We will actually need a physician's signature on one of these forms in order for our nursing staff to administer those. Homeopathics, vitamins, over-the-counter medications, anything that you would like the nursing staff to give to your child on a daily basis, or even on an as-needed basis, will need to have one of these permission for medication administration forms signed off on by the doctor. Similarly, if your child is not fully vaccinated, please make sure you take care of the immunization exempt form. In order to do that, you'll fill that form out, but there's also a course online that you will need to follow up with and have a documented form filled out. I will tell you right now, Colorado has a lot of rules and regulations. These are not things that we just decided to arbitrarily make up. So this is all coming from the state of Colorado. We are a licensed child care facility in Colorado, and so we have to follow all of their regulations in terms of medications and administration. Finally, as part of the final, one of these final checkoffs is this asthma and allergy self-carry contract. And so if your child will bring either an inhaler or an EpiPen to camp, please make sure you fill out that, you sign that online form stating that they are able to self-carry. If they're not, that's okay too, but we just need to know if they are or they aren't, and then we can go take the next steps either way.
The next form that we're going to be talking about is the transportation form. And this form is incredibly helpful for us in order to organize what both our opening day and closing day looks like for our campers. And so what you'll notice is for to camp and from camp, you have the option to choose either car or air. So when you click on that, if you click on car, you're going to have the opportunity to choose what time you would like to drop your child off at camp if you're going to be driving them to camp. Additionally, if you are flying to Colorado, renting a car, and then driving with your camper to camp to drop them off in person, we ask that you choose the car method on the transportation form because that indicates to us that you are physically driving them to camp. And when you choose your timing for opening day, you can choose any time between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. And then we will assign you a time as close to your preferred time as possible so that we can kind of stagger arrival times and keep lines for checking in with the nurses down and for getting rentals a little bit smaller. And it just really helps our organizational process on opening day to be able to stagger arrival times. And those will be given out on a first come, first serve basis for who fills out their transportation forms first. If your camper is flying, then you will select the air icon and you'll have a chance to type in the flight information, including your confirmation number for the flight number, and the times that it is arriving and departing from which airport. And we ask that all of the flights that you choose arrive between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. on opening day. And then opposite on closing day, that they depart between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. And we also have recommended flights, which help us to have campers on the same flight with other campers because it just makes it a little bit nicer for them. And it also makes it a little bit easier for us. And we also offer pickup for transportation from both Colorado Springs as well as Denver. And then for those of you who have campers that are a little bit younger, they will be considered unaccompanied minors if the airline requires it. That said, it doesn't matter to us if they are unaccompanied minors or not, because even if they are 16 years old, we are still going to go through security and meet each camper at their gate, regardless of if the airline considers them an unaccompanied minor or not. And all of our staff will be wearing bright orange Sanborn Western Camps Airport Crew t-shirts. However, when you are booking flights, if you do have an unaccompanied minor, they will ask you at the time of booking who is going to be picking up or dropping off your child. And so if you are flying into Denver International Airport, you will use Taylor Inderbo, and flying into Colorado Springs, we will ask that you write down Quinn Smith. That being said, as we get closer to the actual flight date, we will likely give you guys a call or an email and ask you to switch the unaccompanied minor drop-off or pickup person to a different staff member because we need to bring a large amount of staff to the airport to make sure that we can meet each and every camper at their gates, even when they're landing at the same time. And so once we know the numbers of how many campers we have to pick up, that's when we will assign how many staff we have at the airport with us.
Okay, this next form is our liability release form. It's another one that it basically outlines a lot of the activities and things that your camper can engage with at camp. And so one thing that's kind of unique about it that you will see is there is a place for a camper's parents to sign, but there is also a place for your camper to sign. So this is a great form for you to review and be able to chat about camp and cover with your camper, as well as we have a whole other page on our website if you're like having that conversation about this is what camp looks like and these are some of the skills and kind of like things that you're agreeing to. And so I'm going to put a link in the chat for our required skills for camp or essential skills for camp that are really great conversation starters for you and your camper to talk about preparing for camp and the various activities that we do at camp.
I love me a good camper profile. It's my favorite thing in the world to get a nice full sheet of paper telling me about y'all's kids. And it's a really important document. I would, rather than a form, think of it as a tool for everybody to tell us about your kids. From family makeup to different coping mechanisms to, as a parent, your hopes and fears for your camper. Before the kids even arrive, we are able to introduce the campers to the staff on paper. It's a confidential, kind of operation where as a team we go through the campers and learn about them and kind of get an idea of who we're going to be meeting on opening day. And then all those papers get packed up and leave with me or Krista from where we're meeting. So the staff are able to get a good grasp on who your kid is before they even arrive, and that's a huge important thing for them. And then adding a current photo is also super important. And I'm seeing this right now where I am interviewing former campers and I look them up on our database and it's a 12-year-old. So it's a funny thing to kind of work through. Like, oh, I probably won't be interviewing this small human being. So updating that picture every year helps us, know who we're going to be greeting on opening day. So, we're prepared and our staff are prepared.
Yeah, and so we have also an additional options form that we will make live in early May. And it's it's more like a reservation form to a degree, because it will show sort of a variety of things that we have to rent. And then it will have some of the information regarding what you can purchase. But on the whole, the additional options is really to kind of like say, okay, these are some of the things that we want. And so we do not pre-fund either the camper account or any of the, you don't pay for any of these additional options until the end of camp, because sometimes kids will get here and they, maybe you're like, well, I'm concerned that this backpack won't work, so we're going to go ahead and just click on we might need a backpack, and then they get here and we're like, oh, actually this is a perfect backpack, you don't need any other. So in lieu of navigating that, what we do is we just kind of keep a running tally of your campers, both their camp store expenses, so kind of the fun, camp swag, t-shirts, sweatshirts, that sort of thing, as well as, the occasional ice cream bar or fun treat from the store. We'll kind of just keep a running tally of that, and then you'll receive a bill at the end of camp for those things. That's why this is an important thing to talk to your camper about. In that getting ready guide is there's this information, and so please go through and talk about your expectations with your kids. Like, what is it that is reasonable? We do, when the store is open, we limit kids to one item, and so that is an important component of that piece. But really where we sometimes bump into things is we'll have kids who are like, oh, I want to get a t-shirt for my mom and my dad and my twin brother and sister, and then my cousin Jean and my grandma and my uncle, and maybe my best friend. And so suddenly we have 8 t-shirts, and that's probably a little excessive. So just have that conversation with your camper prior to coming to camp around what it is that you think is reasonable for them to purchase from the store. And as you can see up on this slide, we do have a number of rentals. backpacking backpack. Sanborn Junior, you don't rent a backpacking backpack. We provide those just because you're growing all the time. Sleeping bags, sleeping bag for Sanborn Juniors. Bed linens, we rent those linens in case you're flying and don't have all that extra room. You can also ship things to camp, which I think Jenny mentioned. So blankets and then riding boots are the majority of the rentals. And then some of these things are things that are available for purchase. We will also replace things. So let's say we have someone who, is filling their water bottle in a mountain stream, and that water goes ship, off the waterfall, and we've lost the water bottle. Then this is an opportunity to be able to replace some of that camping equipment as well. And then, like Jenny was talking about, the transportation kind of reservation is also on that additional option form. Jenny, do you have anything else to add on the additional options?
I think you really covered it all for additional options. One of the big key takeaways that Ariella already mentioned is that you will not see this form yet. It's not active in your accounts until May. And so again, don't expect to see it until May. And also just reiterating exactly what Ariella said, you will not be billed for any of this until the summer is over. So don't feel like you need to prepay for any of this, because we would prefer to just wait until the summer is over on that. And then we'd love to open it up if any of you guys have any questions for us.
And for anyone who joined after we started at the very beginning, we do have a YouTube page where we put all of these recorded meetings. So you can always go back and rewind and look at any of those things. And we did a previous Zoom all about the Sanborn Junior program. We did a Zoom that's just had our video, our new informational video is also up on that YouTube channel. It's a really great get hyped for camp. Shows you what the cabins look like. It shows you what the horses look like. It shows you what some of the food looks like. So those are all really great resources. So yeah. Do we have any final questions before we say goodnight? Yes, I will put the YouTube link in the chat right now. Ping. Here is the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. It doesn't really matter, but you can. So thank you again, and have a great rest of your evening.